So hypnosis. So there's certain things about hypnosis that people don't realize that are important to understand. So the first thing is when you go into hypnosis, you're aware when you're hypnotized. Some people think they're going to be asleep, knocked out, unconscious, and they get into hypnosis and they hear my voice. And they're like, wait a minute, I'm not hypnotized. I hear his voice. I must not be hypnotized because I hear his voice. I'm not hypnotized. If you start talking to yourself like that, if you start saying, I am not hypnotized, and you, especially if you repeat it over and over, what you're going to do is you're going to bring yourself, you're probably hypnotized, but you'll bring yourself out. Okay. Because whether you believe it or not, you're going to trust yourself probably more than you trust me. That's okay. That's actually a good thing. But don't start telling yourself that, because I'm saying just because you hear my voice doesn't mean you're not hypnotized. Some people think that's how it's supposed to be, but not necessarily. It's really rare for somebody to not be aware. It happens. My wife is like that. She goes really deep, really fast. Usually she doesn't remember anything. Sometimes she does. A suggestion: sounds, everything except my voice. You focus on my voice, any other sounds aside from my voice, they just fade and become part of the background. So you can be aware of other things going on, but it doesn't have to bother you. So with him, he was aware. He didn't think he should be aware of the sofa. So I did this little, I call it a nudge. I just a little quick little thing. It takes about 8 or 10 seconds. Then I said, okay, back to the childhood. 3, 2, 1, be there. What do you notice? He said, I'm at a birthday party. How old are you? 4. Whose party is it? It's mine. How do you know it's a birthday party? There's a piñata hanging up there. He grew up in Mexico, so it all kind of makes sense. He was right there the first time when I took him there. He was just thinking a little worried, like, oh, I'm not supposed to feel the sofa beneath me. So aware of whatever you're aware of, just realize it's okay to be aware of anything and everything that's in your environment. It doesn't mean you're not hypnotized. Some people are actually hyper aware. You're tuned in. Like if you happen to be near the kitchen or doors open, you're near the refrigerator, you might hear that whir of the refrigerator that you don't normally, you just tune it out. But when you're in hypnosis, your senses can be like kind of heightened. So it's okay to be aware of anything you're aware of. So don't let that get in your way. The next thing to talk about, when you go into hypnosis, and here's the thing, people think it's, I don't know if I can be hypnotized. What if I can't be hypnotized? All you got to do is close your eyes and you're in a light level of hypnosis. So I'll help you go even deeper, because I'll say take a deep breath and close your eyes. And that means you go a little deeper. So you come into hypnosis and I'll be talking. And as I talk, you settle and drift and move. I want to get you deeper. And you might find that you just kind of drop down. Maybe it's my voice. Maybe it's a certain word I say just helps you go, ooh, and just settle down. And then there may be something that causes you to move up some. So I call this zone in here wiggle room. Okay. You can be really deep in hypnosis. You can come up and still be hypnotized. See, some people think there's only 2 possibilities. I'm in, I'm out. I'm in, I'm out. But there's all this wiggle room in here, all this extra space where you can go deeper and deeper. In fact, you can go so deep you go off the bottom of the screen. You can come up and still be in hypnosis. One of the things that cause you to come up when you start to talk, you're going to be telling me about your experience. As you talk, you might find you come up. Anytime you feel like you're not deep enough, you need to be deeper, just tell me and I'll help you to go deeper. Some people find they think they're not deep enough because I ask them a question, they don't have an answer. I'm not deep enough. Whatever. Anytime you feel like you need to be deeper, I've got many different ways to take people into a deeper level of hypnosis. A lot of times I'll throw one at you. If I need another one, I'll throw something different. I'll do something different. I can always come back and do the same thing again. It doesn't really matter, because there's different ways to help you go deeper. Even if I've done it before, I can take you back down deeper again. So the next thing to talk about is, as you're going into hypnosis, as I'm taking into hypnosis, I'm talking and talking and talking, and your mind just kind of wanders over here, kind of like daydream, or your mind goes somewhere else. Your mind might wonder or wander. If your mind wanders or wanders, it's okay. It's okay for that to happen. Some people will say, I can't meditate. And I'll say, why not? They say, I can't focus. My mind's all over the place. Well, you need to have something to focus on. For today, focus on my voice. If you find you're way off in the distance, at one point, I feel like I was so far off in the distance that I knew you were talking, but I didn't even know what you're saying. Well, your subconscious mind is always listening to me. It's always paying attention. So as long as your subconscious mind is listening, you're going to be going into a more peaceful, calm, and comfortable level of hypnosis. So as you go deeper into hypnosis, you may find that you wonder or wander off, and it's okay. Bring your attention back to my voice. If you realize you're not listening to me, listen to me. Bring your attention back to my voice. You'll probably find when you come back, you're actually deeper than when you kind of wandered off there. So there's something else about this that I just figured out a few years ago. When your mind does that, when your mind wanders or wanders off, it's actually a good thing. It's a good thing because your mind is just practicing for what we're going to do. Because what are we going to do? We're going to wander over here into a childhood scene. We're going to wander into the womb. We're going to go back to a past life. We're going to go to other places. So when your mind wanders or wanders, it's going to other places, just like we're going to be doing. So your mind is just practicing. It's warming up. It's actually a cool thing when that happens. What if I get stuck in hypnosis and I can't go back? Well, nobody's ever been stuck in hypnosis. You can't be stuck in hypnosis. It's impossible to be stuck in hypnosis. So it just doesn't happen. So if you never thought of it, just forget I even brought it up. If you thought about it, don't worry about it. You can't be stuck. People go in and out of hypnosis all the time. You can't be stuck in hypnosis. I like to talk about my dad a little bit. So when I was a little kid, about 8, 9, 10 years old, I used to watch him hypnotize people. I saw him take a neighbor to a past life. But when I watch him hypnotize people, as like a young kid, it seemed to me like people would do whatever he said. If he told them to do something, they would do it. And I thought it was really cool when I was a little kid. But you know how happens to little kids, they get to be big kids like teenagers. And teenagers maybe think a little bit more and figure stuff out. So I got I got this realization, this understanding. I thought it was real, thought it was valid, that hypnosis is about control. Hypnosis is a truth serum. And if dad asks me a question, I have to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and I might get in trouble. I got in enough trouble without ratting myself out. I didn't want to be hypnotized. I was convinced that hypnosis is a truth serum. And if dad hypnotized me, he can ask me anything. I'll have to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and I might get in trouble. I got in enough trouble without ratting myself out. I didn't want to be hypnotized. I was like, no, thank you. You can hypnotize him. I think she wants to be hypnotized over there, but maybe next week. And next week never comes, just like tomorrow never comes. Oh no, maybe next month, maybe next year. I just kind of avoided it because I was convinced I was going to rat myself out and get in trouble. So here's the thing, hypnosis is not a true serum. It's not about control. And you can say it is about control. It's about helping you to have more control of your life, but it's not about me pulling the puppet strings and watching you dance. I really can't dance myself, so how can I make somebody else dance by pulling these strings? It doesn't make any sense to me. But that's the thing. You're in charge. You're in control. So if I ask you something you don't want to talk about it, guess what? You don't talk about it. And I might kind of give you a nudge, encourage you some more to talk a little bit. But if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to talk about it. It's not a control thing. Another way I talk about this is really talking about control. You're in control. So right now, if I ask you to take a deep breath and close your eyes, chances are you'd be okay with that. Hopefully you're okay with it because that's how we're going to start the session. But here's the thing. Once you go into hypnosis, if I were to give you a suggestion to hold your breath for 10 minutes, I already know you're not going to do it. But you're not going to do anything that would harm yourself. You're not going to do anything that would harm others. You're not going to do anything that goes against your morals or values. Like I said earlier, you're aware. When I'm talking, you're aware. You hear my voice all the time. You hear some kind of crazy thing like that. You're not gonna do something just because I say so. Now, if you're okay with it, if you're accepting of that, like if I say hold your breath to the count of 8, that's not a big deal. But 10 minutes, that's not going to fly. I'm not going to do something. I'm just kind of explaining to you about the control. So do you have any questions about hypnosis at all? All right. So now past life regression. So one thing, if I could only say one thing, one word before starting a past life session, that one word would be trust. If I can only say two words, they'd probably be unconditional trust. So in other words, trust is important. I like to talk about trust in two ways. One, trust the information. Two, trust the way the information comes. So let's talk about trusting information. So we'll take you back. We'll get back to childhood. We'll go to the womb. We'll go to past life. We'll get somewhere, and I'll say, and what do you notice? What's happening? What's going on? Give me a report. Just tell me what is it that's in your awareness? Tell me that first thing that comes up to you. Tell me what that is. What do you know? Some people say, this is crazy. Tell me what's crazy. This doesn't make sense. Tell me what doesn't make sense. I don't understand. Tell me what you don't understand. I don't care about what you think about it, how you react about it. I just want to know, what is the information? Some people, when I ask them, I get them somewhere, I say, what do you notice? They want to think about it, analyze it, judge it, question, criticize. I get dizzy every time I talk about all that stuff. Just do the easy way out. I like to do the easy way. Do one thing instead of five things. Trust it. Tell me what it is. Give me the information, the raw information without editing, none of that fact-checking stuff. Just give me the real deal. So that's trust the information that comes. Part two, how does this work for you? And information comes in different ways. Expectation says, I'm going to watch the IMAX version of my past life. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see the IMAX version. Well, it's not, I don't want to bust your bubble or anything, but it's usually not that vivid. Probably not 3D, HD type of thing. It might be a movie. It might not be a movie. See, people expect to watch a movie. I don't see a movie. I see one or two still pictures in a whole past life. That's all I get to see. That's me. Most people get more than that. So it works differently for different people. I've even had people that say they're visual, they're very visual, they remember their dreams, and they get in there and it's more like feelings. It's all these feelings that come up, and they have to kind of adapt to that. They have to kind of roll with the punches because it's not always a visual thing. I'm not saying you're not going to see visual. This is the thing with people that say I'm visual and then they don't see so much. It's not really that common. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. Okay. I've had people that I just realized, I thought there was only one of these sessions, but I had something I wrote about 10 years ago when I was looking at some stuff for my book. There's another client I had that she went into a past life and it was all about feelings. She didn't see anything. It was all these emotions, all these feelings that kept coming up. They gave her information. It was really cool. We go to another past life, bam, it's this vivid. She's describing all this stuff. She's seeing stuff. It's very vivid and visual. So the same person I'm working with, two different past lives. One of them is not so visual, more about feelings. The other one is hardcore, vivid detail. So it can switch, not independent of you, of the client. The way the information comes can be more tied to the past life, different past life selves than the actual person. In my experience, it seems to me, usually it's not that way. Usually it has to do with the individual person, but it's hard to say. Everybody's different in some way. So however it works for you. So let's talk about other things. What if you don't see anything? Here's how it works. Usually you might see or hear or feel or experience. You might just know what's going on. So trust the information. Trust the way the information comes. That's the important part of this. How does it work for you? Doesn't matter about somebody over here or somebody over there. How does it work for you? I want you to realize that there are many different ways. So when you see something, there's a feeling that comes in before you get the visual. And you might not even recognize there's a feeling there. So let's say you see stuff and you describe what you see, and I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. And how does that feel? Bam. Here comes a whole lot of more information comes in about based on the feeling that you got. So again, there's different ways to get the information. Usually it's a combination. I'll say see, hear, feel, experience, or just know. Well, maybe it's a combination of seeing and feeling. Maybe you hear things. Maybe you see things written out for you in words. There's different ways for the information to come through. So, however it works for you, trust the information, number one. Number two, trust the way that it comes. One more thing about visual. I see pictures. I don't see movies. I see still pictures. Once in a while, I'll see something moving. I'm like, wow, it's moving. I don't believe it. It's amazing. If it's still pictures, tell me it's a picture. Some people say, this is just a photograph. I have this photograph. I've seen this photograph. Maybe it's a childhood thing. I've seen this picture. I've seen this photograph. Tell me it's a picture. If it's a picture, if it's a photo, if it's a still image of a scene, tell me that, because I might be able to help you get more out of that. I might help you to be able to get inside of that picture and be there in that scene. So I just have to know it's a picture. So I've had people describe this scene to me. They tell me all about this stuff. I'll say, and then what happens? There's nothing. It's just a picture. Well, you should tell me it's a picture. Let's do this, and maybe we can get more out of it. Trust the information, trust the way it comes. So the next thing to talk about would be making it up. Some people, when I hypnotize them and they go to a past life, they'll say, I'm just making it up. It seems like I'm making up. It feels like I'm making up. If it feels that way, if it seems that way, if you think it's that way, here's what you do. It's simple. Just keep making it up. It might sound kind of funny to do that, but it's okay, because I don't think people make it up. I understand it can seem that way. So normally we receive information typically with these holes in the side of our head or the holes in the front of our head. We hear things through our ears, we see things through our eyes. You hear things, you talk to people, you talk on the phone, you talk in person. You listen to audio stuff, you listen to recording, you listen to music, you listen to people talking, TV, however you receive information, or your eyes, you read things, you see people interact, you see people doing things, you watch TV or movies or internet stuff or whatever you watch. We normally receive information through our eyeballs and our earballs. Okay, so that's kind of how we receive information. This is not like that. We have inner senses. We have inner hearing, inner vision. We have inner senses that function in different ways than our physical senses. So typically the way it's described is information enters in, you have this information, you become aware of it when it becomes part of your imagination. You take that information using your imagination, you translate it into words so you can explain it to me. So if you think you're making it up, if it feels like you're making it up, just keep making it up. We'll talk about it at the end after you open your eyes. I'll say, you think you made this up, yes or no? And you just tell me, whatever the case is. The first thing that comes up, that's the main thing I want you to start with. Tell me the first thing. Sometimes I'll say it. What's the first thing you notice? Sometimes I'll just say, what do you notice? What's happening? What's going on? Give me a report. Tell me the first thing that comes up, because that's the real deal. You're not making that up. That's important. That's what you need to talk about. Tell me the first thing that comes up. I've had people say, you know what was really good? I appreciate you telling me to go with the first thing, because I got so much information. I didn't know what to talk about. But then I remember you told me the first thing, so I just went with that first thing. It really helped me to focus on what I need to talk about. So with some people, they get flooded. Sometimes I ask questions in a different way than I normally do. I might start firing these questions. Bam, bam. Every time I get an answer, here comes another. So I'll give you choices with these, and it makes it real easy because you just pick one. There's only two choices, sometimes three. Inside or outside, daytime or nighttime, alone or with other people. I might say standing or sitting or laying down. What other choices do you have? So with those two choices I talked about, are you inside or outside? Pick one. I don't know. That's not an option. Inside or outside. Pick one. Whatever one feels best. I don't want to say, are you outside? Because it's kind of like I'm saying, you're outside, aren't you? And that's no way to help people get information, because then I'm telling you, you're in hypnosis, you're very suggestible. So if I say, are you outside, it's suggesting that you're outside. It can influence your response. So that's why I give those opposite choices. And again, I might fire them, bam, bam, bam. This helps you to kind of get into things if you need that little nudge. I've got a lot of different ways to get people into hypnosis, deeper into hypnosis. I've got a lot of different ways to help you to get into childhood, womb, past life, all the different things we'll be doing today. I've got backup plans and backup plans for backup plans. Some of the stuff I'll do, if we need to even do it, I might give you what I call a nudge. A nudge is something I can do really quick, 5, 10 seconds, bam, and we're right into it. We get up against the wall, and then I do a little nudge, and then bam, you go right in. If I need to do a bigger nudge, like something more involved, we can do that. I've got a bag of tricks over here and a box over there, and sometimes my dad shows up. He likes to watch me work, and if he feels like I need help, he might throw me a bone. I don't realize he's here. I think I'm just figuring it out on my own. Then later in the day or tomorrow, my wife will say, "Oh, your dad said he was in your session today, and he said you were having trouble, and he helped you, and everything started working smoothly." Then I get upset. I thought I figured it out myself. Now I'm cheating. It's kind of a cool way to cheat. Um, so when we do this session today, here's what's going to happen. Maybe. First off, here's what's gonna happen before we start. We're gonna take a restroom break. During the session, if you need to take a restroom break, just tell me. I'll help you come up enough to go take care of business. As soon as you get back situated where you are now, you go back as deep as before, maybe deeper. We just pick it up where we left off. This can happen in person and it can happen online. The other possibility is, what if something happens to the internet? What if I freeze or you freeze? What if the voice freezes? What if Zoom just goes boom and blows up? Well, Zoom will try to reconnect. It'll start doing this little spinning thing and try to reconnect. If it can't, you'll need to reach out to me. You'll need to reconnect to me. So any technical issues, any problems at all with the internet, just come up enough to get things working on your own. As soon as you get things working, we get reconnected. You drop down as deep as before. I can help you to drop down. And when we just pick it up where we left off. Typically, when we have a something goes on and we need to take a break, the most common break is the restroom break. That's what typically happens. The roadmap. We start by going into hypnosis. Once we get into hypnosis, we'll go back and visit childhood memories. I like to start around 4 to 8 years old. So we're going to go to a time, whatever comes up, just go with the flow, whatever comes up. We'll talk about it. I'll ask you questions. So then we go back to earliest happy, enjoyable memory. This one can be so far back that you might not even remember. I had a lady, I've talked about this lady a lot. Her early childhood memory, she said, "Ooh, ooh, I'm all gooey. Ooh, I'm all gooey. My mama told me I'm all gooey. They haven't even wiped me off yet. I was just born." You don't have to go back that far, but some people do. Some people are, I'm getting ready. I'm getting dressed. They're dressing me. Where are you going? I'm going home. I've never been home. I'm still at the hospital. Or I'll have people like 2 or 3 months, 1 month, breastfeeding. I had a few of those a couple months ago. 2 or 3 years old, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I like to go back. If we get back to the baby thing, I think it's really cool. The younger you are, the less possibility that you have recall of it. While the first one might be a conscious memory, the second one often is not a conscious memory. You're so young, it's like, I remember this. So after the couple of childhood memories, you go to the womb. I've had 1 or 2 people say I remember being in the womb, but I wouldn't tell them that. I kind of doubt it, but it's always possible. There's possibilities. But most people have no recollection of the womb. So we'll just explore and see what you can pick up on. What do you notice about this time in the womb? What do you notice about mom when you're in the womb? and then we can explore some other things. I kind of push the envelope, and I'll push 3 envelopes to you, and we'll just see if you open up any of them, see what happens, see what we can discover, and we'll just kind of see what transpires around there. So once we finish with all the womb and the stuff around the womb, we'll go back to a past life. I want to get to 1. We might get to 2, depending on how long we spend around the womb stuff and how long we spend the first lifetime. That'll dictate if we get to a second lifetime. We'll go through the lifetime, navigate through the lifetime, figure out what you need to get, what do you need to know and understand about that past life self. Typically, I move forward, but it doesn't mean I'm not opposed to jumping back. You might go back to a younger time. Often I'll tell people, let's go back to a time when you first started doing whatever you're doing. When you first realized this, when you first realized that. Or you might find yourself at a younger time. I'm not saying you have to only move forward. We can jump back or move back or slip back. Eventually finding yourself on the last day. You might find yourself already crossed over, but you might find yourself on the last day. I like to find out how does this life end? What's the cause of the end of this life? And once you cross over, if we haven't gotten the cause before you cross over, we'll figure it out after. I've got different ways of helping people dig information out. So once we get through all this stuff, then what we'll do is a very thorough review of that lifetime. I don't know if anybody that does a review as thorough as what I do, except my students maybe. So once we finish with all that past life stuff, the past life review, then we move on to another life if we got time. Once we finish all the past life stuff, I'll ask you a question, and I'll even give you the answer right now. So wait, let me start with the question. The question is, may I speak to your higher self? And the answer, of course, the answer is yes. So I want you to say yes. I ask that because I found that when you say yes, what you're really doing is giving your permission. Double doors open and we connect with the higher self. Typically, not 100%, but typically when we do this, your higher self steps up and talks to me. And you step off on the side instead of going, this is weird. Okay. But I want your higher self to talk to me through your voice. That's not always how it works, and that's fine if it works a little differently. How else can it work? Well, you might hear the answer and you just repeat it. Not with these physical, you don't hear it. So however it works for you, maybe you hear a voice, maybe you see a ticker, or maybe you see a whiteboard or a chalkboard with the answers written out. Maybe there's a feeling that comes up that has the answer, just a knowing that comes up that gives you the information to repeat. So if you need to say it out loud yourself, or if you feel like that's not me talking, where's that coming from? However it works for you, it can be different with everybody. So just kind of go with the flow with it. So once we get to that point, I'll have a few questions I ask up front. Then I'll get into your questions. I might have more questions throughout the rest of the session. I may add more to it. I may ask about things from the childhood, from the womb, from the past life. So once we get through all that stuff, if there's anything else that seems important, anything else that's necessary, this is a place where it's just kind of an open possibility. I'm open to different possibilities. So some people need other work to kind of complete what we've been doing. Sometimes it actually comes up. I've had, even in the last week, I've had higher self or a guide say, she needs to do this, she needs to do that. And if it's something that I feel like I can help with, I might wrap up, but do this as part of the wrap up after the Q&A part. We'll find out what else you need. And maybe go through some other processes. A lot of times it's more hypnotherapy work that helps you in a way that's really powerful. And how do I know to do that? Because your higher self tells me, or your higher self tells me she needs to do this, and I understand how to help you do this. And so I take you through this other process. It's not like a big long thing. Like I did this the other day. It was maybe about 10 minutes, something like that, if that. So once we go through anything extra we need to go through, then what I'll do is I'll teach you how to hypnotize yourself, and I'll give you ideas why you might want to do that. And then I'll bring you up and we'll have a little talk about things at the end. So that's all I have to say about that.